All right, and we're live. So we're like 30 minutes late, and the honest reasoning behind it is we got talking about games, which led to Star Wars, which led to new movies, and varying opinions about what might be next for the universe. In short, we're nerds, so we're late.
Deal with it.
Yep.
I don't like that
Nerds.
I don't like that we can't just talk about stuff.
We can't just talk about stuff. We are talking about stuff. It just happens to be cooler stuff than most people.
To be fair, like half of the
No, we
games
had
you can
to-
watch
we
on
had to-
YouTube start with half an hour of talking about crap.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying is we had to go live, so now we can no longer talk about it.
Oh, well, that's a fair argument.
How dare we, go live recording our tabletop game and not talk about Star Wars?
I was going to say, but
Agreed.
that does lead us to playing the game, which is the real reason that we have gathered tonight. All right, so let's talk about where you guys are. Let's see. I think we should talk to quite possibly the judge in this situation as to where we are right now. Murdoch, you want to handle that one?
Why am I the judge? How did I get here?
Because you're kind of holding an impromptu knight's court right now.
The judge, jury, and
Oh, yeah. All right. So, as I remember, if I'm just gonna refresh my brain, right, meow. I am trying to kill somebody, and then was like, no, wait, it's a soul, and then soulomancy things happened, and then we're done with that. So, I think it's only the Tom's character available to talk to the Duke at the chapel, or
at least to start things off.
The abbot is missing somewhere. I don't know where the abbot is.
The abbot could probably go to the group of incoming investigators if he wants.
The abbot is old and does what abbot things.
Yep.
And I'm trying to find Tom to return his soul to him.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing. And I've got Jeremy in tow.
And I had my metal flower, my copper flower specifically.
I think that pretty much sums up where we're at. As far as extras that were not covered, this group is one of 3 investigative teams that are now coming together for a dinner to discuss any sort of discoveries that they've made thus far, and begin to discuss who might be at fault for the war crimes that are happening around here. They have been given this request by the Patriarch himself to basically stop war in the Holy Land. Yeah, it's as fun as it sounds. All right, so let's just jump right into the dinner, unless you guys want to do anything about the guests coming in. Is there anything you want to do there, or do we want to kind of just jump right into where the political action is going to be happening?
I think we first have to resolve the whole soul murder thing.
I don't think we're resolving it because I'm pretty sure that Murdoch was pulling me as the
they're going to come back in the middle of like the dinner.
Yeah, we're going to come back at the most absolute inopportune time.
Yep.
All right. So given the
That's
timing,
why they gained Artha last time.
All right. So given the timing, like I walked away from our slight tussle, did a brief bit of alchemy to determine that it was sea salt that was poisoning the land. And then I walked back to meet the dignitaries. So it's probably going to be me and Brendan's character. And then the other two.
Start off, and then we just interrupt.
Yes.
Yep. And you also did some testing on the cloak, right?
Yes. If I remember correctly, the black dye was made out of ash. I think you would write it down somewhere.
I just pulled my earbud. Hold on. You said it was made of ash.
Yeah. Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Usually coming from Ethebend.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the name of that mercenary group again? That we
Ebon Eye.
The what eye? Ebon Eye.
Oh, Eben. Sorry.
All right. So if that's the case, it sounds like we're probably going to start off in the dining hall. And the dining hall is really just kind of like the reception hall of the monastery here. The monastery kind of breaks down into two major buildings, and then there's a couple offshoot buildings. There's the actual church itself, which is kind of the center building, and it's a traditional steepled roof. With all the holy iconography. And then there's a building that was kind of built just off of the side using one of the church walls to create this reception room. After services, this is where the abbot would greet people, and there would be like the community time after church. That's where this that's what would normally go on in this hall. But it's actually been rearranged, and the table's been pulled forward for the delegation. Your table as the lead investigative team is kind of in the center, and the other two tables are facing towards you, and you're making kind of like a triangular shape. There's a little bit of space between each corner so that delegates are not like within arm's reach of each other, which is a good thing, because as we come into the scene, we see Baron Velasco Santos standing up. He is a older gentleman. He's pretty much the iconography of what you would think of for a baron. He wears like his sigil. He wears fancy armor to this meal. He is from Ethabend. He's the lead investigator there. He has a clericus who is Jorge de Sant Ramon, who is a older, hugely bearded man. Like, he has the trait bearded. This is him here. They are both on one side. They have several servants that have been asked to not attend the table. You'll notice that the team that Aldhedge has sent is 4 people, whereas Ethabend has only sent 2 plus servants. The Aldhedge investigators are sitting down while Baron Santos kind of fervently gives his little speech here. You'll see Nathan Paul, Lord Justicar, Christian Jacquemin, Lady Therese Peltier, and Elaine Demont, who is actually more of a bodyguard, so rather than an investigator, you've kind of found out throughout the meal. Baron Santos is standing up, and he's talking about how over at Hollister Fort, the Viscount Alessandro Arana is destroyed right now. That he is emotional because the let me find her name again. Hold on, where's my crime list go? Here we go. Baron Marina Montes has been killed, and he demands retribution. The Baron Velasco Santos, there we go. Baron Santos claims that Duke Simon Lemreau, who is the Aldhedge representative in charge of Wayhaven, is directly at fault. Even if he didn't hire the assassins himself, it happened while she was in his castle visiting. He kind of gives this fervent speech, and the Aldhedge representatives are quietly listening to it. And then the Lord Justicar kind of peers up from these scrolls that he has collected in front of him, and he says, I was unable to find any evidence, Baron Santos. Were you able to find anything that could prove a connection between Duke Leroux and the assassins? Baron Santos kind of gets a little like puffy because he's used to, I'm a baron, people do what I say. He doesn't really have any evidence to pull forward. After a few moments, he kind of regathers himself, and he says, well, on that charge, no, I have not found evidence, but we all know the man. He lacks character, but I found that Ethabend does not deny their actions about their attacks, and that we are simply reaching out because the Patriarch approved our conduct of war and retribution. Without the Patriarch's approval, Aldhedge has decided to propagate this war longer than it needed to be. And this is kind of an opening for you guys to step in if you want.
Okay, just to recap a little bit what he's referencing with the Patriarch. So Aldhedge currently controls the Holy Land, and Ethebend has recently waged war on them again, and it was approved by the Patriarch, correct?
Ethebend once controlled Wayhaven. Wayhaven was conquered by Aldhedge. Ethebend is now trying to take back the land and was approved by the Patriarch to seize the land. When the Patriarch approved it, the Patriarch approved war in the Holy Land, but now the Patriarch's like, no, this is bad. We need to stop it. You've been around long enough through the churches to know that there was probably political tithing, and like the church took a large cut, and there was probably several reasons behind it, but no one would admit the Patriarch did something wrong because he's the voice of God.
Do we have a like direct word of God thing going on, a la the Pope?
The Patriarch is the Pope as far as we're concerned in the game. And this is like medieval Europe, so what the Pope says, it goes.
He's the freaking Pope.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I guess I'm coming into the room at this point, or Tom's gotten there first.
No, I think you and Tom's character, Francis, have been there this whole time. Basically, the delegates have been kind of going back and forth. The meal has finally started to arrive, and this is when the actual like delegation would be happening. People are bringing forward their evidence to talk about like what they've discovered along the way. Baron Santos has basically admitted that Ethebend does not deny their actions and that they have carried out warlike actions. The extent of what he's talking about has not been covered if you want to get him to divulge further or dig a little bit at that.
Okay, well, as the meal starts, I am actually taking part in giving out the food along with everyone, along with the other brothers. It's a really simple meal. I imagine we have the woman who owns the inn down the hill helping in the kitchen for this, and pouring out our special batch of beer that we've made for today.
Mm.
And I'm just acting really humble and greeting each person individually, like giving the same amount of time to the Baron as I do to his servants or whoever he has next to him at the table. Serving everyone equally. And when I'm just sort of listening as everyone talks during that. And when I get back to my spot, and sort of during a lull, I'll stand up, cough a little bit, and greet everyone to our home here. We've been gathered here under the eyes of Tomote for a very solemn and important duty.
Cleric is Jorge de Sant Ramon, the cleric from Ethebend, kind of nods along, and he gathers that you're about to start a prayer. He lowers his head reverently, and then once the Baron realizes what's happening, he goes into, okay, it's prayer time. The Aldhedge representatives don't seem to take the clue. You're probably going to have to like be like, hey, it's time to pray for them.
I would like to begin with the story of when Tomote and our... Oh, it's been a while. I'm forgetting names. The name of my order.
Lambertine, the Lambertine Order of Monks.
During the travels of our Lord Tomote and Saint Lambert, when on the holy day, Timote had the opportunity to strike enemies he met upon the road, and Saint Lambert urged him to rest and to offer prayer. And at this point, so I'm giving an obvious sort of verbal clue, and I start bowing my head. So hopefully the Althedge people get it without having to insult them.
Yeah. The one who's going to get it and get the others on board is the young man Nathan Appel. He was the sorcerer that helped out Francis in the cellar.
All right. So, who was it again?
Nathan Appel.
And who is that?
He is the sorcerer that helped out Francis in the cellar. Let me show his sheet here. This guy.
Okay. And basically, I break into sort of a gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And once I've gone through the story, the crux of the message is basically that while war can be just and Timote was fighting for the right cause, there are times when war must be stopped in order to save others, and so that innocents are not harmed.
Okay.
And that people must stop and reflect.
Sounds good. What it sounds like you could be doing right now, as far as mechanics are concerned, is you could do a link test. Basically, you would roll something like Doctrine here, because that's what you did. And if it is successful, it will give you a bonus on your next roll. Or we could actually make it like a teamwork thing. And whoever the next person you wish to give your bonus to, you could do so.
That works. I was thinking oratory for this, actually.
Oratory would definitely work as well. You could fork Doctrine into oratory, or vice versa, whichever way you wanted to do it. If you have any other skills you want to fork, let me know.
Suasion, the religious persuade.
Definitely.
Okay, so that will be 2 forks on it.
Okay, cool. Your obstacle is going to be, I think, a 2. Althedge is not super religious, but Ethabend is, so they kind of cancel out the penalties that they would give you.
Okay. Modifiers is where I put in my my forks. Or try to remember how this goes.
Let me pull it real quick here. Let me go to somebody who has a character sheet filled in.
Nobody.
I've got an NPC regardless.
Nobody.
Yes, modifiers is where you would put in how many forks you have. So +2 in that case.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Artha, this would be if you wanted to use Persona to gain an extra die. Right now, you don't have any Persona.
Okay.
So you won't have that option. But
So
you
I'm
do
just
have
putting
lots of
in-
fate. So if you get a failure and you're very close to succeeding, you can spend a fate to re-roll a failure.
Okay. And so I'm putting in 2 with modifiers.
Yeah.
And Artha is what I don't have right now, or
You do not have Persona, which would be the type of Artha you need.
I have to decide to spend the Artha to do the fail, the reroll on the fail, or I get to reroll once.
You'll roll,
if I,
and then once you see the results, if you see that you failed, you can then spend a fate to re-roll 1 failed die.
Okay. So I'll sure I'll spend. So these fate tokens are the Artha I have.
Yes, but don't spend them yet. Wait till you roll.
And my base obstacle is 2.
Okay, cool. So now you don't need to spend any fate.
Mm-hmm.
So after a few moments, you can see that you've kind of calmed Baron Santos quite a bit. He takes his seat finally, and he looks up after a few moments of the room being quiet, and he says, "Clericus, forgive me, and representatives of Aldhedge. I acted abruptly. I should have remembered that where we are. And he goes back to eating in a few more moments of silence, unless you guys break it. Aldhedge will not be.
When he responds with he should remember where he is, I will say that where you are is a place where you are family, a place directly under God's protection. And with that, I'll break bread and start eating.
I'll stay silent for the time being. I want the Baron to cool down a bit before we get talking again.
After a few moments, the Lord Justicar says, well, if no one else has anything to present, I have a few items that I discovered along my way that are pertinent to this council. It seems that there's fault on both ends, and he looks at Baron Santos. On my word as a Justicar, these are the findings that I have found, and he pulls up three scrolls. He'll unroll the first one, and he says, in the matter of the death of the Baroness, I find that there is no evidence that the Duke is directly connected with this foul crime. His only failure was not having a guard that was well prepared enough for assassins. Unfortunately, during the investigation, it seems one of them had been released, and he looks over towards Francis.
I'm just like drinking from a goblet, not looking at him.
But he will be apprehended soon. With this council's permission, I would like to send out my personal guard, Elaine Demont. She is quite the swordsman, and I'm sure she can apprehend him in no time. And he kind of waits for the approval of the head investigation table, basically.
Who's that?
That would be you guys.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see here. I believe Elaine was the one I was talking to. Something. I believe that. Let me try that again. We briefly talked about this at the end of the last session, but Elaine, I believe, was the person I was talking to in regards to the man who was accused of doing vile things and who's supposed to be fighting Mason later. And she was lying to me about a lot of things, but I wasn't sure what. So she's not entirely on the up and up, but I don't have a good reason to, like, say no. So, obviously I'm not saying all this out loud. If Brendan looks at me, like, Francis will sort of give you
I imagine we have a little whisper.
Yeah.
Consult.
Yeah, which is completely appropriate. There's nothing wrong with that during this scene.
It's like, it's like, she seems capable, but when I spoke to her, she was untruthful. I'm not sure about what. I don't know if we can trust her.
All right. I'll turn back to the group, and that is agreeable under the condition that she works alongside with and consults with Sir Mason. He is currently in charge of protection of the Abbey and of our delegation.
So Lord Justicar kind of thinks for a moment, and then he smiles very openly, and he says, Lord Mason's direction would be most helpful. His knowledge of the land would be appreciated. And that's when Mason comes in.
Here it comes.
You're welcome, Chris. Sir Mason.
Excuse me, Abbott. I'm sorry. I have a matter to deal with Francis that's very important. I walk over with the picture. I need to return this to you so that you may be able to pass on. And I will humble myself before him and be like, I am so sorry.
Is Marshall currently in chains?
Yes. Also, I'm visibly.
No, you were unchained. You were unchained when it was discovered what was going on, and that I had made the mistake, and that you were just like, I took care of it. Here's the thing.
I'm not in chains, but I am visibly bruised and bloody.
Yes, he is that.
Like I've been punched in the face at least twice by a hand that was, had a gauntlet of it.
There may be bits of his skin and blood on the gauntlet that I currently have in my right hand.
And I look smug as fuck.
I'm
also,
going to
a copper flower. The exact.
I'm gonna flip a coin to decide if Francis wants to deal with this right now. Nope.
Both sides were the same.
You accept it quietly and just let them go on with their business.
Basically, it's like I'll just like look at this, blink a few times, gingerly take the picture from him. Thank you. I accept this wholeheartedly.
I also give you the my version, my copper flower.
Oh, is like what's it?
It's as exact as I could have gotten it.
It's like this is good craftsmanship. It's quite lovely.
With that, the Lord Justicar's smile widens, and he says, "I was expecting this later, but if we are exchanging gifts, I believe it is time." And he claps his hands. His servants come forward, and he says, "For the Abbey, we have brought incense from the Patriarch himself." He opens up a small chest, and there's like frankincense in there. There's a seal on the chest that is broken in front of you that is from the Patriarch himself. It's his wax seal. These are the kind of incense that you would use for like high holy days. He says the Patriarch gave this to my family several years back, but it was a shame to see it wasted in our coffers. It would do us a great honor to have it here in the Holy Land where it can service the people. And then the Lord Justicar turns towards Mason. And for your budding knighthood, I have brought a dozen of the finest lizards that Aldhedge has to offer.
Does he have like a here's a writ or something in front of it, like in front of him that he hands me?
Yeah, he tells you that they have been stabled, that they are being taken care of by his groomsmen right now.
Like, is there a hair's transfer, like some sort of document?
Yep.
I right on it. I look right at the Justicar and I look at him and say, I am not keeping anything that you give me. You dishonor yourself and myself. I hope
your will.
I hope your dagger brings you nothing but pain. Hold on, I was trying to help Steph with the delivery guy.
Okay, let me take a look and see what your will is.
Much.
We discussed why this is so important to me.
We did. Doesn't mean he's gonna not answer the way he is.
Oh no, makes sense. 5.
Oh, wait, I did this wrong. Sorry, I have to look at etiquette real quick because I forgot it does not go off of will.
I can guarantee you he broke etiquette. At least their version of etiquette.
I have to roll etiquette for the Justicar.
I can guarantee you he's pissed off.
To see if the Justicar takes it on the cheek or if he fails his etiquette and just.
Oh, I hope he fails. Too. I hope he fails.
A dude who doesn't. Oh my god! Like
Let's
this
see,
is not
proper etiquette for a minor lord, baronial lord, ducal, king. Okay, so the obstacle will be 1. He is going to fork in. Let's see here.
You can still fail.
You are not a army.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You are not a circuit, as in where judges perform. You're not a criminal, as far as he's aware. Doctrine, estate management, history, hunting. Your character, Mason, did he begin as a noble?
No.
Okay. But he is a knight now, so that does make him a noble, so he'll get noble-wise in there.
He's going to pass through. Let's see. Pure 0.
He's going to fork rule of law, because he could technically be executed if he goes crazy on him. No Artha. Base obstacle will be 1.
Hey, he almost failed it.
He almost failed it too.
Oh no, he should fail it.
No, Murdoch. He had a +4 to your 1. He still rolled a 1.
Yeah. He only got 1 success. So the Justicar, he says, kind of biting back a comment, and you can clearly see that he wants to say something and he thinks better of it. And he says, very well, if it is your wish, then the steeds will go to the abbey for service to the pilgrims.
I look at the abbot and I give him that look that says, you don't take it.
He says, I will have one of my men draft up a new arrangement. And when he says one of my men, you know that he means Nathan.
Like, there's the fury of Tomate and the eyes right now, and the only reason that he hasn't struck down this man for just completely disregarding is because he's in a church. If this happened on the road, he'd have killed him.
Because he made the roll, pretty much everybody else in the room, including Mason, would understand that etiquette-wise, he is appropriate in offering the steeds to the church.
Yes. I get that, but where I'm from, it is still a problem for me because now, not only are you... So, the Justicar has done 2 things that bother Mason. He re-gifted something, which is a tantamount to being like, oh, this is my soul, I give it to you, and then somebody turning around and go, I don't care, I'm going to give it to this guy. Yep. Which is fucking terrible.
Yep.
And now he's going, here's something from me to you. And he's going, well, if you don't want it, I'm just going to give it to this guy instead. Which is like, are you fucking crazy?
Mason would understand that if a gift is not accepted, it can always be tied to the church, and that's considered acceptable.
You've
been around long enough.
Yeah, up here, but this guy's insulted me enough.
Yeah,
basically.
I was gonna say you could definitely be insulted about the other stuff, but you would understand where he's coming from, because that role he made on etiquette is basically to get you to understand what he's trying to do. If he had failed it, he would have offered the horses to the church, and I would have been like, "Go ahead, you know you want to kill him. He's insulting your shit right now."
In game, Mason understands that.
Yeah, but he's pissed about the situation entirely.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So I'm not going to respond on the lizards, but as far as the incense goes, following that whole discussion, I am going to sort of politely decline and sort of admonishing him slightly by telling him that it should be used by his court, and to make it available for your people, pretty much. And this is a great gift from the patriarch himself for your use at home. I wouldn't want to take that away from him. Pretty much, sort of giving him a very polite scolding.
The Justicar accepts this, and he's very open with his smile and everything, and he's playing very pleasant.
Can I sort of? Is there any sort of? So can I make like a social role here, just sort of like turn the tables with what happened with Mason, so I can sort of change the momentum of it, so that Mason looks like he's in a better light because I'm sort of backing him and refusing a different thing?
Yeah, if you want, you could use like oratory. That would be a good way to kind of turn this situation around.
Yep. So I would like to fork Ugly Truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I think that'll be good.
Because I mean, even in the Mesa society, regifting is kind of frowned upon.
Yeah, and sort of regifting something that like the holiest person in the land decided to give to you to be used. So okay, so oratory.
This one, I want you to make your obstacle 1, and for every bit that you exceed it, I'm going to give you a little bit of information.
Ooh.
Basically, if you get a 1, you achieve what you want. If you get a 2, you're going to achieve what you want, plus you're going to get a little information.
Okay. Is Mason effectively helping me with this, since this is sort of like a joint thing that's happening? Like there's a follow-up to it? Or
so as much as I would love to in game, I don't feel like I feel like Mason is just keeping his mouth shut because he doesn't want to say anything that will make this worse.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to fix it, so that makes sense. Okay.
So here's the weird thing. The Justicar is going to assist you.
Which one's the Justicar again?
That's the guy that you're telling him, I don't want your gifts.
Oh. Okay.
He is going to use his own oratory by assisting you. If you allow him to talk and assist you in your points, he is trying to turn the conversation to where you will get what you want, but the Ethebend investigative team, which is basically the Baron, will look upon him more favorably by the time it's done. Yeah. If you do not want him to talk, you can straight cut him off, because technically this is your house and you don't have to take his help. But if you accept it, that's what his goal is in offering you help.
I'm going to not take his help based on the fact that all the evidence we have is anti-Ethebend evidence. So I don't want to. I'm going to be hammering down on Ethebend potentially in the future. So I'd rather keep it balanced.
Okay.
Okay. So modifier 1 and base obstacle 1.
Excellent.
And if I use fate here, I can reroll all my failures. How does that work?
1 failure die.
1 failure? Sure. And how do I do that?
So I will remove your fate token. Just roll 1d6.
Okay. That's the command's what? /roll 1d6?
Yeah, /R 1d6. And then depending on what your result is, that will tell me if you got another success. Okay, that did not succeed because you need 4 or higher. All right, cool. So you get what you want. He accepts his gifts and his verbal tongue lashing. He has been chided. And as far as your second bit of information, you haven't dealt much with Aldhedge, but you remember learning a bit of information from your boss, the Bishop Doman Belgrad, who is from Aldhedge himself. The people of Aldhedge tend to do this sort of thing. They acquire goods through trade and gifting, and they tend to use it so that they can garner favor in courts, particularly so that they can use these gifts as bargaining tools. Like the Bishop Doman Belgrad has definitely tried it with you once or twice before, but it's been much more minor than this. And you can kind of see what the Justicar's game is here. The Justicar wants to basically make this the most beneficial it can be for Aldhedge, even though Aldhedge probably is guilty of some of the crimes here, even by his own volition.
So he's doing damage control?
Yeah, he definitely is. And he's very good at it.
Mm-hmm. How does he react to me not, like, knowingly not letting him sort of save face?
He sits down quietly. There's the lady Therese Peltier, who's next to him. She kind of smiles at your kind of brazenness with him, but she doesn't say anything. You can tell that she likes to see the Justicar put in his place a little bit. And then Baron Santos looks to the abbot and he says, "Clericus, I have brought a humble offering. As you know, Ethelben has remained steadfast in its faith to the church. I, before making this trip, had paid my tithe to the patriarch, but for this church, I offer from my own stores a small sampling of steel. It is the finest that I have to offer. I know that your knighthood is lacking in some of the reinforcements and tools of the knighthoods in the Holy Land. May this steel be of use to you." He will pass over a writ. He doesn't tell you how much steel it is verbally. I imagine that Marshall's probably going to sneak a peek at that steel list.
Yep. So, a gift from your humble and masterful craftsman is most honored. In addition to
several thousand ingots.
Yeah.
It's enough to outfit armor, swords, pretty much everything you need to really start your knight's order here and be efficient.
I will sort of, so that I'm not showing complete favor. I'll also insert the fact that, and what we use not for Mason's order, I'm sure this will aid the town greatly for use in tools to aid in work.
I agree, Abbot. If I may present my gift to the Baron. Baron Santos of Ethelbend. I humbly present you with this, and I kind of motioned for the lady Kiva to come forward. I requested her get this stuff earlier, and I said, "This is the first bottle of ale that I made upon arriving here at the Abbey. It taught me the meaning of hard work. It taught me the meaning of understanding the world around me. And most of all, it taught me about friendship. I hope that this ale symbolizes that friendship that we hope to cultivate here today between all of us. Between myself, the Abbot, between the Dye families, between the crafters, the wee people, between Ethelbend, and even between Eldhedge. This gift to you I give. It is noticeably half full because it has actually been drank from before."
Okay. Baron Santos graciously accepts, and then the clericus he's brought with him gives a small humble prayer over the gift. It is the traditional prayer that would be exchanged over any sort of gift exchange. I imagine that Brennan, your character, would probably join him. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Basically, it's to say that these gifts were given in the eyes of the Lord, and that no man should take them from their inheritors. And it's a blessing over people who participated in the exchange. Basically, it is very much a slight against those that did not participate in the exchange. Just throwing that out there.
I noticed nothing about etiquette.
Yeah, Marshall, you notice that there are thousands of ingots that have been basically left at your doorstep now.
All right. If I notice that, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna leave this whole discussion.
You're just gonna walk out on the delegation.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to be perfectly clear, because I'm not entirely sure of the context of this. These gifts are between delegations, right? Or is it between individual people? I kind of lost that in translation somewhere.
It should be between delegations. Marshall has taken the opportunity to give his own gift due to his own beliefs, which is not uncommon. You've been with Marshall long enough to know that.
Marshall or Mason?
Or sorry, Mason.
No, I don't always give gifts when I give gifts. But when I do give gifts, I give a gift.
Brother Werner steps forward, presenting the gift that is traditional for the church to give to its hosts, which is a glass of kind of an amber ale made with the golden wheat that's around the abbey, like a eighth of a wheel of cheese, and a hunk of bread that has been freshly baked. This is the kind of gift that you would give to pilgrims on their first visit to the abbey.
Perfect.
It is considered the acceptable gift. If you guys want to, or if Brennan, if you choose to give them something more than that, that would be seen as like extra. But this is what they would have expected in return.
I don't feel like the abbot is any sort of extra.
Yeah.
No.
I figured.
Delegations of Aldhedge and of Etherbend, I must apologize. I have arrived at this occasion dressed inappropriately. My armor is shiny, like I look good, but there's the little bit of like blood on my right gauntlet that's like a little drop, and it's just not happy with it.
Shouldn't have punched me then.
And he's going to, please excuse me, I must take a few moments to appear appropriate for men and women of such appropriate stations. Excuse me.
I'm gonna roll a die of fate over here. Okay. You excuse yourself, and at the corner
I
of the
haven't
room,
left until I get the okay.
You are approved as far as the parties are concerned. The only one that could stop you now is the abbot, who I don't think will.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are pleasantly surprised. You turn to leave the room, and Lady Kiva has a fresh pair of gauntlets that are clean and prepared for you, waiting for you to get to the corner of the room so that you can exchange them. She will take yours and leave the room with them.
Oh, I will change my gauntlets right there. Thank you. And she is doing it like out of sight of everybody to be like, right?
She's not doing it for them, if that's what your concern is.
No. She's doing it for me because she knows that's how I am.
Mm-hmm.
She prepared this. But she's doing it like I didn't want to show everybody my, like here, like she didn't rush forward and say, "My lord, I brought you fresh gauntlets." And she was
She waited for you to approach.
And I'll just look and serious question on this, Chris. How is etiquette in this situation? Do I loudly praise her to raise her standing with the nobles present, or do I just kind of go, "Good work"?
She is noble, right?
See. How long has she been a squire with you? Because that kind of determines what would be the appropriate thing. Take a look here. She has been with you for 6 years. Yeah, you might verbally praise her. She's about time to receive her knighthood.
Okay. I will verbally praise her by pointing out that she is ready for any situation and always aware of how appearances matter to people and how you should always conduct yourself appropriately to the situation at hand in court.
She nods to you and she says, Sir Mason, your words are kind, but I am here as a guard to the delegation tonight. If there is anything else that you need. And she will post herself up at the door as she was instructed to. She has her faithful hound next to her. It's an Irish wolfhound, remember?
Yep. There is one thing that I need you to do, Lady Kiva. Normally I would take care of this myself, but I need someone to be in charge tonight while we feast. Please check in with the other knights and make sure they're doing their due diligence.
Of course. It will be as if you were guiding us yourself.
And then I will smile and saunter back to the thing casually, loudly enough that other people hear, but soft enough that it doesn't seem like it was meant to be so, that I am very lucky to have a squire that is so talented and ready for knighthood.
Okay. We'll deal with that later. She quietly leaves the room, but she has left her Irish wolfhound inside the room. You know that she's making rounds around the abbey. The wolfhound has stationed guard. Her hound is actually quite good at that. The Baron will kind of smile about it. And as you take a seat, he begins kind of chit-chatting, and he says, I remember her as a young girl. Lady Kiva of Lore Castle was a woman that would not be stopped by anyone. I'm glad to see that she has turned into such a respectable woman in her age. Isn't it time for her knighthood?
Indeed. That time quickly approaches, though I am hesitant. She has proven a most useful squire, and I fear that I will not find another one as talented and skillful as her.
Baron Santos nods and he says, I envy a knight. The only thing that I have risen up to such station is a qualified scribe. And he kind of laughs to himself.
I'll chuckle.
About these
well, a good pen can be sharper than any sword in the right hands.
Of course, Clericus. And he nods. Of these delegations, I believe the Justicar had charges to bring forward, and mentions something of Aldhedge's involvement. And he makes sure and he buries the needle point on that one. The Justicar says, yes, during our time in Wayhaven, we also discovered that the castle had been salted. This has led to the starvation of the people and will affect the tithing to the church. We've found scraps of uniform, and he presents like these bits of uniform that we believe belong to Ethabend. As far as the other charge, I found that the let me see where to go. The Duke Simon Leroux has unknowingly funneled his wealth to a mercenary team.
Do we know the name of this mercenary team?
He kind of goes through his scrolls and he says, the contracted.
I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar with this group. Could you enlighten us more?
The contracted are men that take oaths when they swear fealty. Unlike most mercenary groups, they refuse to be bought out by others. They're particular about who they choose to do work with. But they have done work for most every kingdom in one way or another. They're an efficient group, but quite ruthless. I believe some of the damages that have been done to Swordbreak Village were, unfortunately, at their hand.
So who is this saying? Who hired the mercenary group again?
He's saying that Aldhedge hired a mercenary group called the Contracted.
Okay. And what proof do you hold that this mercenary group was involved and also unknowingly paid for by the Duke?
He says, of course, and he brings forward a man in bindings. His name is Sir Isaac Appel. He's the man that was going to be executed when you guys were over in Wayhaven, and that challenged Francis to a duel. This is Sir Isaac Appel. He has committed the heinous crime of killing women and children alongside the men in Swordbreak Village, and he has admitted to channeling the Duke's resources and money into hiring the Contracted. The Duke was unaware of these heinous crimes. As for the matter of Sir Isaac Appel, there is the outstanding duel of honor between him and I forget what we said for the title for artist.
Vala, I think.
Yes, the Vala Francis.
I do apologize for that. I merely pointed out some inconsistencies in the evidence, and, well, he took offense.
Sir Isaac looks up, and you can see that he's been bloodied. He's obviously been punched in the face a couple times. And he says, I did what I said I did, and you're calling me a liar. I've come forth to face God and confess my crimes. Do not make me a liar in my confessions.
Then I hope you would not I hope you would feel welcome to confess here, so you may present the evidence yourself. What is it exactly that you did, and how did it pertain to this? Please do not skim.
For the last couple of months, I've been taking funds from the Duke, spending them where I needed to assist the army. I was tired of Ethelbin's soldiers murdering the Aldhedge. So I hired the Contracted, best sell swords that were available. The Duke was happy with the victories, and I continued to lead my forces where they needed to go. Lady Commander, the Duke were oblivious to my spending and my actions. When I came to Swordbreak Village, I saw only enemies. Ethelbin is a blight and must be taken out completely. You do not let plague victims wander through the village without being taken care of. You must treat Ethelbin as the plague.
So how would the role work in the situation if like during my experience sort of listening to common folk sort of confess maybe how would I know if I have a feel for maybe if he's telling the truth or not?
Let's see. Let's take a look at your skills and see if we can find one that sounds like it might fit.
Or maybe him trying to convince me. I don't know how it would work.
Let's see. You have religious history. You have ritual. Ritual would be what it is. Let's see what a confession would be for difficulty. Here we go, ritual. Let's see. A baptism is an op 1, and a coming of age is op 2. Wedding would be op 3. I think this is probably an op 1. Confession's a pretty routine thing that you've probably done several times.
Okay, the way I'm going to conduct this is with very pointed questions.
Okay.
So he seems to be very stalwart in his ethics behind it. I'm based on how Tom was talking about how he thinks was lying based on the bloody clothing. I'm looking for like a hole in the story, like something that he doesn't seem ashamed of, that someone who might be lying in his place, who's actually more honorable, would actually be ashamed of. I'm trying to sort of break that facade. So I'd like to fork in ugly truth.
Sure. What are you going to say that is the ugly truth in there, though, for you to be able to fork ugly truth? Like you have to tell him something that would be like a pointed comment that could qualify.
What's the sort of the gravest crime he's sort of admitting to here?
Genocide.
And genocide is bad, MK.
Yeah. He's basically admitting all fault for Swordbreak Village.
Okay, so I'll start off sort of religiously, just talking about how asking questions about his faith and how he reflected upon this, and as you sort of give me the sort of the rote responses, I'm going to start like digging in with like suddenly like specific accounts, like explain to me how the women and the children reacted, how give me an example of one person in particular, how did you affect them, things that would really make a person who's lying reflect.
Okay.
Like looking for some sort of tick. Yeah. Okay, this is ritual.
Yep, and it's going to be an odd one. Like I said, confessions are a pretty routine thing for you.
With a modifier of 1.
Confessionals, rather. Oh, never mind. He didn't need it. Okay. Yeah, he's still lying about something. He definitely was there. He's definitely murdered some people, but you don't think it's to the extent that he's claiming.
Do I get the impression that he is faithful from this? Is that what's causing his apprehension, or is it? What is it that's making him sort of break? That's convincing me that he's.
It's not lying. That he's faithful. You just have been in the service of the church for a long enough time that you're able to pick up on when people are being less truthful. He's just not a super great liar, which is part of what Tom got with his role. Is this guy is not really super great at lying. That he's covering something for someone else. He's more involved in the social hierarchy than he is in the church. So he feels like it is right for him to cover up for someone else. Like you're able to gather at least that much. That he definitely was involved, but not to the extent that he claims he was.
Okay. So once I've sort of
you do know that he does have an outstanding duel against Francis to basically say that if he wins the duel, I am right. Everything I say is the truth. So if you want to let that happen, Francis's champion is Mason, and Mason would be effectively the executioner if this guy does not win. Sorry, it is to first blood. That was Patriarch's thing.
Yep. So I'm using this as a follow-up to Francis. So I'm trying to get him flustered with this and, constantly lying, trying to keep his facade. And I'm going to sort of segue into Francis to sort of hit him with the thing that makes him an outright liar based on the evidence Francis had. So I sort of give it over to you.
Well, that is all very well and good, but unfortunately none of it explains the clothes. They were bloody no more than an hour before I saw them, yet there's claims that it was from days ago. Or a day ago, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. He says, like, he looks to you and he looks really like fierce about it. But he doesn't look fervent in his belief when he says this. He says, "You've challenged my honor again. You've accepted my duel. Let it be done. Let us settle this and find the truth."
Well, perhaps someone spilled some pig's blood on it.
I will stand up. And I'll just kind of motion to the door.
Let us have this dirty business done with. And when it is done, I hope you properly finish your confession, Sir. What was his name again?
Appel.
Sir Appel. And I'm going to look to the other Appel just to see what sort of expression he might have, because they're related.
Yeah, Nathan looks to his cousin is probably the closest relative term for it. And his jaw is set tight, like he's tense. Like you can see the muscles in his jaw underneath his beard kind of pushed out because he's clenching. But he says nothing, and he tries not to give away anything more than that.
Okay. In the future, as we sort of as we go outside and for this event, because we're leaving the church and the immediate grounds, I'll sort of try later. I'll try to sort of work in with him and talk to him casually and try to sort of get information that way, but not immediately.
Baron Santos will come to you on the walk there, and he says, "It is not my place to judge this young man on his honesty, Clericus, but I have evidence that points to Ethelbin being partially responsible for Swordbreak Village. It is with great regret that I inform you that after those mercenaries were hired, it seems that the Viscount saw no other way to deal with them than to poison the well. Large number of those civilian casualties are at Ethelbin's hands."
Okay, so this is getting a little convoluted.
Yep.
Can we just run through a simple list of who's accusing of who in the sequence?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody is accusing everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean it's a war council, so I mean this is bound to happen. And there's a lot of shit that went wrong here. So, if you follow just the confessed items, basically what happened is Isaac Appel said that he killed the women and children, and they brought forward clothing. The clothing basically shows fresh blood on it instead of old blood that would be appropriate. When Isaac came forward, he admitted to hiring the soldiers and killing the women and children in Swordbreak Village. He basically is taking full responsibility for Swordbreak Village entirely. Then Baron Santos comes forward and says that he has proof that the well was poisoned. He knows exactly who did it, and he hands you a scroll. And there's the name of, let me find it real quick here.
Alexandre.
One second. Lieutenant Eric de Saint-Ramon. And he will say that it shames me and the clericus that this is his nephew who has poisoned the well. But but Tomate's justice will be served, regardless of familial ties.
And this is coming from who again?
That's from Baron Santos of Ethelbin. Okay. He's basically coming forward and saying, "Hey, we done fucked up. This is who fucked up. He's admitted to it. I've got him in shackles over there. We just haven't paraded him out yet."
Okay, so he's saying Alped hired mercenaries attacked.
Yeah, he's bringing it up because he sees that Isaac is lying, and he doesn't know that you already know that he's lying. Okay. You see a quote from Lieutenant Saint Ramon, which is, "Wars are for winning. If Tomate did not wish this matter to be settled by force, he would not have authorized a war. Only fools and children play at war, but stop short of what is needed for victory.
Okay. So, yeah. So, basis is Altedge hired mercenaries to take out, unknowingly hired mercenaries through this night and committed genocide in Sword Edge. And the Baron is admitting that
part of the genocide is Ethelben's fault because
in retaliation.
Yeah, in retaliation. Like the basically what the Baron's admitting to is probably the women and children deaths are because of the poison. Because usually women and children are not targets of military movements.
And who do you say was the one responsible for that decision again?
His name is Lieutenant Eric de Saint-Roman, who has not been paraded in front of the court yet.
Roman.
He is the nephew of the Ethelben clericus.
Okay. I'll give him something of a withering glare when he sort of suggests that it was the women and children. And I'll continue with my further statement of let's get this dirty business outside of the church grounds or the abbey grounds, and we'll carry on with the investigation afterwards. I'll be curt with them. Justice will be meted out as necessary.
So, you guys arrive at the dueling ring. And what I would like to do, because this is actually like a fight that matters, there's a set of rules for fight. And I'd like to kind of walk us through those. Mason will enter the...
What do you mean that the fight between me and him didn't matter?
Well, there's a couple ways that you can actually settle fights in Burning Wheel. You could do it like a regular skill check and basically say, my goal of this roll is to kill him. And if I succeed, I kill him. Yay. Or you can do what's called a bloody versus, which means he rolls a fight, you roll a fight, and then you guys do damage, and then it kind of resolves itself. It's like the quick and dirty, kind of like D&D or Pathfinder, how they resolve it. And then there is the fight with an exclamation point rules, which is kind of like a step-by-step choreographed thing. It's a little bit more intense than the types of combat we've done in the past. So we'll walk through it here. But let me grab my book, go to the right section.
Is it more along the lines of like, what is it called?
Like you get to pick out moves like strike and parry and things like that. So
it's more like the dueling in L5R.
Kinda. It's a little bit more elaborate than that even.
That's saying something too.
Well, L5R is like elaborate in its setup. This is more elaborate in its procedure.
Something I also wanted to ask about is this came up in our L5R game where my swordsmith had the ability to sort of buff one side because he had a sword that I crafted.
Mm-hmm.
Murdoch again. And we decided that wasn't deemed as honorable.
That wasn't Murdoch. That was Tom.
No, it was your duel with the lion samurai.
Was it?
Remember the one you just?
Yes. Oh, that's right. That's right. I didn't have but I didn't have any. I wasn't an actual duelist.
I know. That's what made it great. But we decided that that me helping in that case would be dishonorable, so I didn't. How do we want to do this?
Yes, you can pray to God to give him a buff if you want.
I was going to pray to God myself before we started.
I'll lead us in prayer.
Chris, can I give his sword a once over if he allows me to give him a buff?
There's nothing that you could do during this time that will really do much to his weapon. You can definitely inspect it. As a smith, typically for a duel of honor, you would inspect both weapons. And
that's what I would do.
Responsible if like the weapons break and somebody dies, like you would be executed for it.
I will take on my responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to assume the answer is no, but I'm going to ask sorcery.
So officially, no. If you can hide it and no one discovers it, hey, that's your jam, yo.
This is why you start painting, and this is why painting in sorcery needs to be a thing altogether. Because then you can start painting a battle scene where Murdoch is winning, therefore he gets a bonus.
Yeah. If I had time, maybe, but experience has taught me I need to pace this shit out. So
yeah, if you want to take your time, unfortunately, the duel will probably be over by the time you're ready to cast.
Yeah, I'm gonna let this one go.
Probably be over.
So, Murdoch, on the side where the card decks are, you can see I have multiple card decks over there showing.
Yep.
There's a red one. That is the fight deck. If you click on choose, those are the actions that can be taken during a fight.
Okay.
How this is going to work?
Stand and drool.
Yeah, I don't suggest that one.
Swoon.
I don't suggest that one either.
Whoa. Just want to reconsider that. You might consider.
I can't actually see what they say, though.
Okay. If you are in the Burning Wheel book page, let me see.
I am not. I assume you suggest I be.
Yeah.
Always have it open and ready to go.
I'm in range and cover because my book moved and I wasn't paying attention.
What page did you say?
I'm pulling it right now.
I'm going to go with 483.
I think that's too far because I'm in 436 right now. So you guys, we're going to make this really simple. You're both going to use a sword of the same length, so we're not going to worry about weapon lengths, which is actually a thing for this. So there's not, we will allow you to vie for position, but you won't get bonus dice based upon the weapon that the enemy is using. There's on page 439 the fighting actions.
Missile. I just love it. Missile.
Those are the different actions. Basically, what we're going to do is I will pick 3 cards. You will pick 3 cards. We won't announce it. In fact, I will let you as a team decide what you want to do if you want to discuss it with a group, but I will pick my 3 cards first, and then you guys can begin discussing. That way I'm not cheating or anything. Basically, we will flip over your first card and my first card. We will compare them and see what needs to be rolled. It will tell us how that round of the volley, which is the 3 cards that are pulled, goes.
So it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors, but you choose you choose your options ahead of time, and there's a couple more options.
So let me pick out his real quick first, and then we'll kind of talk about it some more if you have any questions.
Range and cover available cards. That's the one I'm supposed to use, right?
Don't use range and cover, because range and cover is for like archery.
Choose the fight, right?
You said the red one, right?
Yeah.
The middle one, Murdoch.
The one that says fight when you hover over it. I'm sorry. I realized that red wouldn't be great for you.
There's only 3 things. It's an easy one, and they do say what they are. The top
Which is fine. I just didn't. I was looking at this one and I'm like, he said red, and this is red to me.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
All right.
Range is the top one is the bottom was range of cover. The middle one is fight. That's the one you're doing.
Okay. Let me put down my first card. And then, oh, hold on a second. Oh, nope. I've just got a Duel of Wits page. Okay. And then he will do this. And then he will do this. So there's a couple special ones inside there. Great Strike, for example, is a special one. If you use Great Strike, it will take up your next action in the volley. So if card 1 is Great Strike, your second card needs to be no action.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just a simple question here. Is my weapon drawn, or do I have to use draw weapon?
Now you guys will have your weapons drawn.
Okay.
It's a duel. You'll be armed.
So, are you guys starting it now, or are we still just going through how it works?
I've pulled the cards that he's going to use. If that is your card, please place it towards the top here.
Before we start, can I do my prayer and perhaps bless his sword?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to say a prayer over the sword with him. The point of the prayer is to pretty much remind him of the purpose of the duel, is that this is not a duel for his honor, but that, like the sword, he is a tool in the hands of God to seek the truth.
Okay.
So I'm blessing this sword sort of as a seeker of truth in the hands of God, along with Mason.
Good. Mason, since you have the ability to pray as well, would you like to join him in assistance?
I want to roll soldier-wise to establish lore.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that. Will it affect the roll that Brennan's trying to make?
Negative.
Okay, we'll hold off on that until Brennan's done with his then.
Okay.
Okay. Are you joining in, though?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, my first faith roll.
Took you long enough.
I
So
know,
looking
right?
at the faith rules, which I don't have open at the moment, what should your obstacle be to...
Okay, so I was deciding between boon and blessing. I sort of like the idea of blessing, although it's a little more difficult.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I should be trying to buff those, since I'm sort of not knowledgeable about the system.
Okay, let me help you out. What page is that on?
It is on page 552 of the PDF and 552 of the actual book.
552. Okay.
So blessing is to grant one die to a stat, skill, health, or steel for the duration of the intent.
Okay. Wait, what number did you say?
Page 524.
Oh, 524. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so blessing will give you a +1 to a stat, skill, health, or steel for the duration of the intent, which the intent will be the duel.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other one that you were looking at?
Boon is the one above it.
Okay. And then boon, let's see here. Prayer makes one ability open-ended until the end of the scene. Okay. So what open-ended means is when he gets a 6, that 6 re-rolls. If you do the blessing, he gets a bonus die automatically throughout the whole duel. Both are useful in different ways.
Okay. So if I were to pick like the right stat,
technically during the next volley, if you wanted to throw another prayer, you could go for the other one too.
Okay, and they would last for the whole duel.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go for blessing first. So I'm blessing his sword.
Okay.
Okay.
So
no.
Ob 3.
Okay. 3. Come on. Boom. So, to describe what happens, there'll be sort of an eerie silence after he's finished his prayer. Like, people were sort of talking and stuff, but all of a sudden there's sort of like a hush for no reason. And there's like a little faint glow with the blade, which extends slightly into Mason, burns brightly in him, returns back into the blade, and it sort of dulls back down and disappears. So it returns to being a simple tool. And afterwards, the clouds outside break and there's clear light outside for everyone during the proceedings.
Okay. So the first thing that's going to happen is we are going to vie for position. Narratively, what this means is you guys are in the fighting pit. Your swords are drawn. You're kind of going back and forth, testing each other to see who has the opening. This is pretty much the initiative rule, if you would. What I need is a speed test, but I do need to know what is Mason's speed, because if you are faster, you'll get a bonus.
So I wanted to make a roll before that.
Yes, sorry,
soldier-wise. That basically anyone that's participating in a duel, if they in the Holy Land, it is going to be customary for them to pray together, like with hold it like this with their hands like this. One person's hand here, one person's hand here, like that. So that way they understand that this is not like that they are, not supposed to kill each other, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, I like that. If it is only applicable to non-lethal duels,
yeah,
then I think that's probably, let's see, we're talking about a regional thing, probably probably a 2. Because it's very specific to the Holy Land, so I think 2 is fair. Okay, yeah. So right before the duel begins, he will go to join you in prayer. You can feel his hand quiver a little towards the end of the prayer, but he goes to his side. His restraints have been removed, and he takes the sword, and he begins kind of circling the dueling ring with you, kind of testing each other. He'll like fake a thrust to see where you're at. This is where that speed test comes in.
4.
You have a 4 for your speed? Okay, cool. You do have a greater speed than he does, so you'll gain a +1 die. What you're going to do is click on the little die where it says speed. And you're going to roll that against him.
Do I have a base obstacle?
It's versus each other, so I'm going to tell you how many successes he got versus yours, and we see who wins.
Okay. Oh, I didn't get my extra die. Hold on. Modifier, Artha.
The extra die from the prayer is for your sword rolls only.
No, you said for my speed.
Oh, yes. Yes, for your speed.
How do I... Is it plus... Is it just a modifier 1?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go. 1! Ha ha ha! I'm terrible.
Still the same.
Okay. It works.
So normally when you vie for position, if your weapons were different, there could be bonuses based upon the weapon size.
Yeah.
Because you're both using swords, there's not really any difference as far as the size is concerned. There's going to be no benefit. If he was working with, let's say, a knife and you had that roll, you would get 2 extra dice to all of your sword rolls until he took position from you.
Okay.
We are not going to continue to do those position rolls because technically you would do it every volley, but because you guys have the same weapon, I just wanted you to get an idea of what that was. So he will begin to kind of test you and push. And then there's the moment where the first strike happens, or at least the first move in the duel, the real move. Let's go ahead and flip our cards. I'll flip mine, you flip yours. A lock and a block, huh? Let's see what happens when you block if they throw out a lock. Okay. It's versus power. So he's going to roll a power check, and you will roll a power check against him. His power is 2. All right. Excellent. So what's going to end up happening is, let's see, you have just enough to succeed. A block deflects and redirects an incoming attack. Like an avoid, your success reduces the effectiveness of the opposed action. Each block successfully reduces the total. If your amount reduces it completely, you've blocked it completely. Any additional successes you can spend for a margin of success as followed. You didn't get a margin of success. You succeeded. because he tried to lock your blade, basically he comes in real close and he takes the cross guard of his sword and he tries to jam it in. You skillfully twist your sword around to where he's unable to actually lock the blades. You guys space from each other for a moment, and we'll flip the second card. He is going in for the Great Strike. Let's see if it is a avoid. Looking up here, you see where it says GS? It says versus skill. That tells us what we will do in this case. So against your avoid, he has to do against your speed. Oh my god, he's going to fail this miserably. All right, he has 1 success. So you can use a sword skill here, and so long as you beat 1, you beat him.
+1.
Let's see if avoid has anything special if you get margins of success. It does not. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So he goes in for this wide kind of sloppy swing. You quickly sidestep it, and then he is exposed to whatever your next move is here. Okay. I believe a counter-strike actually requires a strike against you. Let's see what happens.
I did not know that. I was trying to block, basically be the cocky guy, block, avoid, and then when I was done avoiding, go boop.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but he's a weakling, and after the sloppy execution of a Great Strike, he's tired out.
Back in a second.
Let's see. However, strike from versus test. The defensive portion is used for. Okay, so normally how Counter-Strike would work is you will decide how you want to split your pool. So you'll take your total amount of dice for sword plus your prayer, and you can divide that however you want. And some of that will be used for defense, which will be the first roll, and then some of that will be used for offense, which will be the second roll.
That's like one of the best things you could do after you just got hit with a Great Strike. Then
it's pretty good. I mean, really, the best thing to do would be turn around and hit him with a Great Strike, because then you can pretty much annihilate him.
I want to just strike him. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to spend 1 die on your defense. So.
Okay.
You will succeed because he can't take anything. So let's not worry about that. Just do your sword check, and don't add the +1 that you get for the prayer.
Yep.
Because that would have been too.
Ah!
All right.
Well then.
So.
Do I accidentally kill him?
Let's take a look at how much damage you do. So looking at your sheet, Mason. Let's see, go over to combat. We did not put your sword in, did we? Nope. Let's find swords real quick.
Tom.
Yep.
I just want you to know that you sexy.
Thank you.
Murdoch, this is what happens when you pick up.
AF.
Ugh.
Murdoch, this is what happens when you what?
You pick on people who are weakening you.
Yeah.
What is your power? Because that does determine it. Yeah. Okay. So what everyone will see who is not a trained swordsman is he goes for the Great Strike. It swings wide. Mason fakes like he's going to deflect and realizes there's an opening. Mason, what does your final strike actually look like? You will kill him.
I am going to kill him.
Cut off his arm.
Hey. I wasn't supposed to kill. Like, do I not have the restraint to not kill?
You don't in this situation. Normally you could. I'll explain why in a second here.
Okay. If it's a final strike, I mean, as I kind of see the striking coming and I go, I inevitably just like
actually do this for me. Explain what you intended the strike to be, and then I'll tell you why he dies.
I intended to walk forward and then just kind of hit him on the back and be like, child, you're just acting petulant, that sort of thing. Like
just cut him across the back to draw the blood and end the duel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What ends up happening is he's moved past you. You go to strike. He turns around and he's like bringing his sword wide, like he's going to great strike you again. But you're a skilled swordsman. You have a sword skill of, what was it, like 6,
8,
right?
8.
You can tell he has thrown himself on your blade. When he turned, he buried your blade into his stomach on purpose. Let's see if anybody else would know. There's one other person that probably knows here, and your squire. So there's at least 3 people that could say that he did it on purpose.
Ooh, me.
Maybe.
I'm just gonna look just completely aghast. Like, what the fuck? That was not supposed to happen.
Normally, if the duel had not ended with him losing his little pool of life points that he had, we would do another volley.
He goes until he kills himself.
But I was gonna say it would go until it's over. Like, if this was a duel to the blood like it was supposed to be, you would have got first blood and that would have been the end of it. If this was like a fight to the death, we would keep going until one or both parties were dead.
Okay. So I'm just gonna look over at everybody and like kind of drop my sword and put my foot on his chest and just take my sword out, and I'm like subconsciously just gonna like extend my hand to hand it to the Lady Kiva for her to polish, for her to like clean it, and I'm just gonna be like, what the fuck happened? I still have that.
Yeah. Lady Kiva will go to you. She's got a red piece of fabric that she uses to like cover the blade initially.
Yeah.
And she gets very close to you so that no one else can hear unless they like really strain themselves. And she says, Sir Mason, that was not your fault. He threw himself upon your blade. I saw his movements.
I'll look at her and say, I'm just disappointed that I wasn't skilled enough to stop him. Why would a man throw himself, or why would a man willingly let himself die?
Tell me what you guys are paying attention to in this scene, please.
Who is you guys?
Each of you. I can tell that Mason is involved in the current conversation, so I don't think Mason's going to notice anything.
No, Mason's just looking at the corpse leaning into Kiva.
Let's go with Francis. Francis, what are you paying attention to right now?
The heads of each delegation.
Okay.
And how you cut them.
Like, shit.
Yeah, you're expecting this to go bad. It doesn't seem to go bad. Like, everybody kind of knows that in a duel, it's a possibility that someone dies, like accidents happen. But the Lord Justicar doesn't seem as bothered as you would expect. His smile returns after a few moments. And he says, it seems that Sir Isaac was not only a criminal in the eyes of Tomati, but also a terrible swordsman. Let his crimes be noted. And he rolls up the scroll confidently, like, case closed.
This is after a few minutes?
Yeah.
What is the
basically,
Abbott
everybody has walked
doing?
back inside. His body has been drug off.
My center of focus is Nathan Appel.
Okay. Nathan is hurt. He doesn't voice it. It's very clear. When you guys go back inside, he stays outside for a little while before going back in.
So as the rules go, it's like it doesn't change the outcome of it. Given the fact that if he actually died, it's just not what they were trying to do. How does the law work in this case?
You guys could decide after the fact, but the Justicar is very happy saying that Isaac was at fault for everything since he admitted it, and he's dead anyways.
Except that wasn't what the duel was over.
Correct.
Yep.
Technically, if he had won the duel, Isaac would have been completely right. Because Isaac lost the duel, he's technically wrong and was proven a liar in the eyes of God.
All right,
But again, the Lord Justicar is trying to case close and move on because that's his MO.
Yeah, as he turns around, I'm not going to let him. In a booming voice, something that no one here has ever heard me go into. And I'll also be using the my bonus die from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be going into Assuasion. Let us remember the matter at hand for this duel. Sir, what was the guy's name again?
Sir
Isaac.
Sir Isaac was fighting for his honor and to not be labeled a liar in his crimes. He has been proven a liar in the eyes of God. His testimony is no longer applicable. He is not the sole source of the attack on Sword Edge. And we must uncover Swordbreak Village, and we must uncover the truth.
The Baron from Etheben nods his head. The rest of this delegation will go fairly smooth. There's not a whole lot that's been solved, and there's a lot of outstanding questions for Swordbreak Village. That's kind of the next stop on the investigation. That also happens to be where the Lapis Lazuli mine is actually located. The Baron will suggest that once you are done with, or once everyone's done investigating Swordbreak Village, because obviously there has been some misinformation about that site, you should meet in the town of Lanarcost. Lanarcost is the town that's just over from Swordbreak Village. Swordbreak Village will take you about a half day to travel to. And then they will present all of the facts in truth. And he's very much like, got this air of, I know I was wrong, but at least I didn't lie, kind of attitude.
During the time afterwards, I will try to talk to Nathan alone. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so.
So
where would you corner him? Actually, hold on. It may not be possible because of who he is. So I do need a roll from you.
How about
Circle.
Abbey-wise? As we go in, I know the layout of the place.
It's going to be a circles roll.
Okay.
I need to figure out if you share anything with him so that you could actually find him. So there's two ways to find people. You can do a circles roll, which if you share a life path with them, or at least the type of life path, like let's say that you were both city-born, that could work. Or you can find another way through story to get them to come to you. Circles is like the cheat code to summon people.
Okay.
Let's look at your life paths, and I'll tell you if he has anything in common with you. Let's see. You have villager, peasant, and religion. He is... No, he will not have a life path with you. After searching the church grounds, you're unable to find him, but what you could do is do a summon or a circle roll for a monk that is part of the monastery to go fetch him for you. Or
Okay.
Alternatively, since you have a relationship with Brother Werner, you could just ask Brother Werner to go find him for you, and then rely on Werner to be able to find him.
Sure, that works.
Okay. So you get Brother Werner, and Brother Werner agrees. He lacks any sort of career path that matches with him as well, so he's going to make a few rolls on his end to see if he can get him. Okay. So he failed, actually, which is not terribly surprising considering the way he had to go about that. Instead of just saying that Nathan is gone, because I don't really like that answer, it doesn't really push our story forward. What I'm going to say is that you find Nathan at the bell tower. That's where he's been. He's refusing to come down. Brother Werner tells you that the abbot that found him said he was in quite a level of distress. There's an acolyte who is staying with him, but he refuses to leave the tower.
Do I have the ability to go to the tower?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'll go there myself.
Okay.
Alone.
As you get to the hatch that opens up to the bell tower, there's this smooth breeze that kind of goes over the Holy Land. It's about midsummer now. You can hear the cicadas in the fields destroying your crops because they're assholes. Yeah, cicadas are mutant terrible bugs, in case anybody isn't familiar with them. But they sound like coming death when you hear them. So there's like this screaming sound almost in the wind. And Nathan has broken down completely. He charcoals his eyes, so his face looks like a raccoon, and there's these bleeding marks of black down his face. He seems to be quite the mess. His dreadlocked hair has been unfurled, and his cloak that he normally wears is half open. The acolyte sees you and kind of excuses himself because he doesn't know what the hell to do in this situation. Just kind of leaving you with Nathan in the bell tower.
All right. I'm guessing that so Mason, and would you have shared with me the fact that he threw himself on the blade?
No, I haven't said anything yet.
Okay.
I mean, you also haven't asked me, hey, what the fuck happened? You weren't supposed to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just the way we kind of skipped.
I mean, it's not like you can't. Bring it back.
We can bring it back and say that this is a conversation that should have happened.
Okay. All right. So,
what the fuck happened?
Basically, once we're all together alone, he just gives you that sort of deadpan look. Is like, what happened?
He's gonna look at you and say, I think he did it on purpose. I went to just discipline him like I would Kiva in a duel, teaching, hey, guard your side, don't leave any openings, whatnot. And I went to just kind of tap him and, teach him as a petulant child. And he turned around and charged at my blade.
Francis will curse under his breath at this. It's like, ugh. I apologize. I should have seen this coming. If the man was willing to lie and go to the headsman for this, I should have expected we try something.
So, just as a matter of me as the GM kind of talking through social roles with you guys, since this is a fairly new world for everybody, him throwing himself on the blade is kind of like him admitting that he was lying.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to.
That for 4
that was like his last chance in the eyes of God to find redeem or some
redemption.
Sort of redemption.
For Mason, that sort of thing doesn't seem possible, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So Ansel is
I'm just
actually
telling you
gonna-
what the church would view this as.
Yeah, no. For Mason though, it's one of those. This doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like people on the Mesa are weird.
Yeah.
So Ansel's actually gonna chuckle to himself, then correct himself and apologize. Sorry, some gallows humor from my homeland. But I blessed your sword to seek the truth, and I just thought you would be the tool God would use, but Sir Isaac heeded my request and finished his confession.
I suppose so. Just that sort of mindset is beyond me, I guess.
That makes no sense to me. But it is what it is.
Faith makes people behave in powerful ways. Or honor. I'll need time to reflect on this. But we are stepping closer towards the truth with what happened with Swordbreak Village.
I would like to pose a question to Mason.
Yes.
What happens to his dog?
What does happen to a fallen soldier's dog?
I think for a fallen soldier, it would seem appropriate to like return the dog to the master's home, if at all possible, and the family takes ownership of the dog.
I actually disagree.
Okay.
I like the idea that, because normally we go with that you know, oh, you always return the weapons and the soul and all that stuff. And the way that I look at it is, if you lost a duel or you died at another soldier's hands, like if I killed a soldier, that soldier's dog, then it is my responsibility to the fallen to take care of their animal in a duel. Okay. Like I'm taking on that responsibility.
Yeah, I meant more for like if they died in battle, like let's say they go to war, like it would bring the dog home would be the answer, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if the person that died, their military should, you know, hey, your son is dead, here's his dog.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. If that is not the case,
that's what I'm thinking. But I do like your idea that in a duel you become responsible for their debts in a way, like making sure that their animal is taken care of, rehomed, and things like that.
Yeah, and like another thing that I would think about is like you know, if you're because duels are supposed to be done by the nobility type thing. That like you also take care of what's it called? Help me out here. Like I would send a stipend to the family to apologize for the murder and an accidental death.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, because it's for the church is going to cover the stipend and everything. But yeah, I think that would be standard. Cool. His dog, just so you're aware, is a standard poodle because they're the French people.
Oh, I fucking hate him, and I kill him.
It's like a 4 foot tall poodle that's just dumb as a box of rocks.
I kill it. No, I
end the line where you can make sure it never propagates.
I will. Kiva has a dog, right?
Yep.
She has a terrier thing, doesn't she?
She's got an Irish wolfhound.
Or Irish wolfhound.
Yep.
Hold on. So Murdoch, are you why can't a soldier have more than one dog? Why can't
because you train it. You know, it's not like a thing. I'm gonna go with.
There's probably nobles that do, but like a soldier on the field, having more than one dog is like more food to carry, more responsibility. Yeah. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Is the idea?
I want to choose to believe that one soldier who has like 1,000 dogs because
master out there.
Don't make Murdoch have a poodle, Jeremy. That's not cool.
Yep. I'm gonna give it as an apology to Marshall.
Okay, we'll address that later on.
Yeah, we're gonna address that later on.
Let's go back to the bell tower.
All right. So I'll approach him and just sort of sit quietly. Sit down next to him quietly. I motion for him to sit with me.
Oh, he's already sitting.
Okay, so I'll just sit with him. And looking out to the view. I remember the first time I came to this abbey. This was the first place I wanted to come to. I wanted to see the golden fields that were promised to Mote that he never got to see. And it gave me a great clarity of mind. Let me look deep within myself, what I've seen over the years away from the Holy Land, and really take my first step at finding peace here. I hope that I can do something of the same for you.
What are you trying to accomplish here?
I'm trying to open up to talking with me, to be to talk to me about the truth.
Okay.
So maybe get again to want to.
I think persuasion or suasion, one of those two would probably be the appropriate skill for this.
Okay. What can I fork in here? Soothing platitudes?
I was gonna say the other one. Soothing platitudes would work as well. And, so if you do persuasion, you can fork suasion, soothing platitudes.
And would oratory apply here?
No. Oratory's to a crowd.
Okay. What's my target going to be here?
2. He doesn't have any like deep secrets that would be terribly hard to force from him.
I'm going to spend an Artha.
Okay. Get to reroll one failure.
You can only spend one at a time?
Yeah. Or sorry, you can spend as much as you want, but you get to spend it once.
Okay. Well,
because we're playing a more political game right now, so I'm letting you spend more than one for your rerolls.
Okay.
Normally it would be one per reroll. So okay, so 2 successes, which beats your ob. He says, Clericus, I don't know what the truth is. I know that my cousin fell on that blade on purpose. I think it was during the prayer. I saw him quake for a moment at the end with Sir Mason. I don't think he could bring himself to lie to Tomati.
Yes, when I prayed over the proceedings, I wanted the sword to find the truth, and for those involved to be tools of Tomote. I thought Mason would be the tool he would use, but your brother, your cousin surprised me.
As he did me. Well, Clericus, the Lord Justicar will do what he needs to make sure that Aldhedge leaves this delegation with some sort of positive grounding, but I don't think that's what Aldhedge needs anymore. He kind of bites his lip and he holds for a moment, trying to think of what to say. The contracted were hired by Aldhedge. There's no denying it. I found proof of it. I've also found proof of the assassins and their connection, but I cannot assure my own safety if I was to give this information to the delegates.
Is this information that, if not coming directly from you, its significance will be diminished?
If it comes from me, myself and what's left of my family will be killed. My name will be stricken from any books of record in Aldhedge. I cannot say that... No, you cannot say that this came from me. If you can promise me some sort of level of protection, some modicum, I can tell you where to look, but I will not be the one that reports it.
This is tough for me. I have to decide whether or not I am going to try to persuade him to put people at risk, since there's innocence involved.
Keep in mind, one of those psycho assassins is running around town now.
That's okay. He's meting out justice.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
What is the evidence?
He looks to you and he says, Clericus, you're a good man. I'll trust you in this. Asked to see Duke Simon LaRose back. He has the same markings as the assassins.
Who else besides you has seen the assassins who isn't associated with the delegations? Who can attest to that?
No one inside the Duke's care. His knights will claim that they know none of these men, that there's no connection. There is one assassin, the one that escaped. He claims to be out for justice. He could possibly, if we could find him, confess his crimes and point out the others. Elaine Demont, from my own delegation, has seen the markings as well, but her allegiance is with the Lord Justicar, and you cannot break that love.
Does the Lord Justicar know of this connection?
I would assume so. He's been quite chummy with the Duchess, and I assume that she knows more than she lets on. The only other person that I could think of that knows of these markings is Vala Francis Morgan. He's seen them. In fact, having them confirmed by Vala would serve in the court.
And how did you come across the information yourself? Besides seeing the assassin, how do you know that the Duke shares the markings?
Before leaving, the Duke was heading out to hunt. Part of his normal ritual is he gathers the dogs and he gets his bow and changes into an overcoat. It being midsummer, he's changed to a lighter coat. During that time, his back was exposed, and I saw the markings.
And do you know the magical significance of the markings? if there is any.
I regrettably don't have any idea of what their connection would be, but it is the same marks that the assassins share. It could be just a fraternal mark for all I know. Knights do such things.
I heard from Vala Francis that this assassin used magic.
I did say he used magic. He resisted it.
Oh, I thought. Oh, he just powered his way through the ice.
Yeah, like
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say that, Nathan will say, it wasn't that he used magic. He seemed resistant to it. He was fine in the ice, but once he was thawed, it seemed like he was able to activate his markings to break free. He unwound both of our spells at the same time.
Hmm. All right. How was the assassin captured originally?
The Duke claims that his court magician froze them, or his court sorcerer had frozen them. But if their markings can do what they've shown, then the court sorcerer spell would have only been an obstacle for them. They were waiting inside the frozen queue, or inside the frozen spell for a time.
You're saying they allowed themselves to be captured?
Their brandings wouldn't allow them to be captured unless they willed it to do so.
Thank you for your forthrightness. Your brother did a great service to Tomete in his final decision, and I hope it brings us to the truth and to justice. Thank you. And I will sit there as the sun sets alongside with them over the wheat fields.
Okay. Inside. Do you guys have anything that you would like to bring up now? Basically, the group has agreed that investigating Swordbreak Village is probably the best thing, since there's a bunch of things to uncover there, and there were no real answers about that.
Right. Well, things got away from me a bit there. I was planning on sharing the various bits of information I learned from my own investigations. I would bring up the subject of the tattoos, assassins, and like how it resists magic, because I just want to share that information because I know nothing about it. I would bring up the point that, just offhand, that the salting of the soil was done with sea salt. Just an interesting little tidbit. Don't think there's anything else I learned that hasn't already been brought up.
Okay.
However, at some point, like before the night's out, and maybe we can do this later, is Lady Peltier there?
She is.
Right. Like, I'd like to talk to her one-on-one at some point, because out of everyone here, like, I imagine she's just been silent, and I kind of want to get a read on her.
Okay. Yeah. You go to approach her. It's towards the evening now. The candles have been lit. The meal is over, and the delegates are resting for the evening, and all of you will be setting out in the morning. Lady Peltier has done her appropriate lady things, which is to give evening prayer. She stands up and she sees you inside the back of the church, and the temple itself, and she'll walk towards you. She's kind of a curious woman, and she speaks gentle and smooth, but she has hard, piercing eyes. And she has naturally curly hair that's just kind of big. I'll show you a picture of her. That's her. When she heads back, she says, she greets you and she says, Vala, good evening.
My lady, I hope you've had, well, as pleasant evening as you could here in this abbey.
As pleasant as any of these delegations seem to get. I am here because my father has chosen me to be here.
Ah. Well, I dare say we do have a bit of a muddled affair in our hands, but I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this with all due haste.
Of course. Tell me, what do you think of the trial so far? I know that the Lord Justicar likes to keep his thoughts to himself until he's ready to pronounce who is at fault, but I think more discussion is needed.
Difficult to say. There is a good amount of evidence against Ethabin, although from what I've seen, Aldhage is not entirely blameless in this affair either. I fear that we may have something of a mixed result on our hands.
I agree. I think the best thing is to break it down by crime and figure out who is responsible for each, mete out justice that way. As far as the assassins entering Wayhaven, that is still unknown. Town of Swordbreak is still unknown. The fields outside of Wayhaven, well, there isn't any others besides Aldhedge who could have, or excuse me, Ethabin that could have done that. Ethabin has even agreed, or Ethabin has even confessed to it, from what I understand, privately with the clericus.
Oh, I was unaware of this. Although I suppose it's not surprising. There were a number of eyewitnesses within Wayhaven that told me as much as well.
Temple of the Bleeding Sister Orphanage, we did not discuss it, but it was very much destroyed by spellcraft, though I was unable to figure out who might be behind it. Villagers blame both sides, as far as I understand it.
Not as such. I'm sorry, I should have brought this up, but with all the chaos this evening.
Yes, I mean, there will be time.
Well, my compatriots investigated the orphanage while I was in Wayhaven. They found definite evidence of Sorcerer's Fire being the culprit, and they also found some fragments of uniforms, which we have identified belonging to the Ebony Eye, an order of mercenaries hailing out of Ethabent.
I'm familiar with them. The Ebony Eye boast quite a few sorcerers in their ranks. I did find something interesting about the funeral of Saint Celine.
Oh?
It seems that, as odd as this sounds, no one was at fault. Her funeral was interrupted by the bandits, as far as I can tell. Quite possibly victims of the war, just looking to recoup some of their losses. I'm not entirely certain. Saints are always buried with gold and wines and things like that they can't really use, so it makes a lot of sense.
An unfortunate coincidence, then. Strange. Certainly possible. Though, considering all that we've seen thus far, I think we should keep our minds open.
Of course. And as we found out, both sides have escalated the war and hired their own mercenary forces, the Ebony Eye and the Contracted. As far as the dye production, I must confess I haven't made it out to Swordbreak Village. Lord Justicar was very confident in the confessions that he received and saw no reason to go visit the village. From what I understand, it's quite horrific, though.
Indeed. I spoke with one of my contacts on this matter. Most of the town is simply depopulated. As far as when the mines can open, the best estimate is between 1 to 2 weeks, most likely 2.
I think that's generous.
Quite so.
But it seems that the last deciding thing that will have to be investigated is the matters in Swordbreak Village, unless we would like to find some further information about the funeral of Saint Celine.
Perhaps, but Swordbreak takes priority.
Of course. Vala, are you open to patronage?
I should certainly like to think so.
Let me look at your skills real quick, because you might have a chance to roll something with her. You did not. So, yeah. Okay, I know how to RP this next bit. Well, I'm seeking service that really only you can provide right now. I would like for someone with a discerning eye to be able to prove some facts for me.
I'd be happy to oblige.
Of course. There would be a fine donation made to your household for your services. When it comes to judging who might be behind the assassins and the city, it will take that discerning eye. I simply wish to find out who is truly responsible for this and ensure that punishment is done as is due.
My lady, this sounds like it is involved with the investigation itself, in which case I cannot accept payment. This is simply what I was tasked to do.
All I am simply asking for is a favorable eye. If there are any indiscretions that come up that would put, in particular, the Peltier family involved, or even Saint Celine Thomas, I would hate to see that there's anything negative that would be reported against them. As I would expect that you would hopefully make sure that your family was taken care of as well.
Of course.
Just to be clear, she is bribing you.
I am aware.
Okay, cool.
Oh, please.
I'm surprised this hasn't happened before.
She hasn't had the spotlight yet. She bribes everybody. That's the way she manipulates.
I didn't mean her. I mean him.
Who says it hasn't happened before?
Yeah. How do I...
Are you open to receiving money for doing things?
All right. I have an interesting way of going about this.
Okay.
Shame.
Not... Oh, you'll be shaming me if you know, but that's a side point. I was like, I, of course, will do my very best to make sure that no good names are besmirched. Although, while we are asking each other certain things, I would also like you to consider my friend, the abbot, who I believe has displayed a good amount of faith and moral upstanding throughout all these trying times. This abbey is his, and he takes care of it with great pride and great care. And I believe, even though it is new, that people should be aware of its presence and how integral it can be to this particular route.
She nods her head and she says, of course. That's something that I'm sure that the people of Aldhedge proper would be interested to hear about.
Advertisement. Yes.
I'm fulfilling a belief, damn it!
I was really hoping you'd be the one to approach her.
I'm doing this for you. And me, but also you.
Mostly me, but kind of you.
Okay. Yeah, she agrees to some quid pro quo.
All right.
All right, I got to use that in the game. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what that scene will cover. I don't think there's that much more. What was nice about this is I got to give you guys a rundown of where you guys are at in the investigation through that conversation. I think we will just break over to Swordbreak Village. I'll kind of set things up. If you guys want to do anything initially when you get there, we could do that. We've only got about 15 minutes left, and then we'll do Artha stuffs.
Yeah, Tom.
Because I'd like to set up a cliffhanger. So going to Swordbreak Village, it takes about half a day to his ride to get out there. The place swarms with crows in the air, fat dogs trotting about, and when your guys are close enough, you can see a Jamestown-style massacre in front of you. 750 bodies or more. The commoners are poisoned, and the bodies remain unburied, covered with flies.
Was this what we expected?
It is pretty much what you guys were expecting. Everybody has pretty much warned you that this is a massacre site. Many of the bodies have been shot with arrows. You can see the tall tale signs of purple on them that they were poisoned. And lots of the bodies seem like they were dragged and moved around after they fell. Most of the bodies have Ethaban features, but there are some Aldhedge corpses as well. More than what would be necessary to do the killing. A lot of the Aldhedge did, after inspection, bear the marks of torture. Removed fingernails, teeth, broken fingers, broken ankles, knees, burn marks. And you can find different implements of torture inside the households, like fire pokers that have definitely been treated, tongs, and some prying tools and things like that.
Huh.
By the way, no one has said anything about doing any sort of torturing of victims, and that's highly frowned upon by the church. That's crimes of war that is like unforgivable.
At this point, I say everybody's guilty.
Quite possibly, unfortunately. But we have to be
That's
sure.
it. Execute exterminatus. He's got to go.
After we're done looking around, the Ansel's gonna recuse himself, and if anyone follows him, he's just sort of collapsed on the ground and openly weeping.
I'm gonna
Tom. There's a beautiful flower that catches your eye. In the midst of all this carnage and terribleness, you find this white flower with red in its center. After a few moments, you realize that you've seen this flower before. It's not growing in the ground. It's simply next to the well.
Huh. Interesting.
You flip through your book, and you find the drawing that was returned to you. It's an exact match. And that's where our cliffhanger will be.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, let's talk about Arthas. So this was a really cool game today. I think you guys played really well, and we're getting to see the characters and stuff, so that was really cool to see.
That was a great session, and I'm not just saying that because I had most of the spotlight.
Let's go down the list real quick here. So I will go over to Abbot Ansel. So for Ansel, your beliefs. Let's see if you move towards any of them or accomplished any of them. First one is I will learn more about my companions as to better guide them on the road to that Tomate has laid before us.
I think that's about to happen with Francis, because I think that's going to spur an interaction between us. That flower drawing.
I was going to say there is a thing that that this belief is actually not written towards like the story. It's more written towards your companions. So the question becomes, does anybody feel like their character was guided along the path that God intends for them by the abbot this session?
Probably
I don't know that Francis has had that moment yet. Maybe it will be next session. There's definitely like a setup where that's a possibility.
Yeah, if it was with anyone, it would have been with Mason.
That's where I was kind of leaning as well.
Do I feel like there's been any like, hey, now you exist to this world and you have enlightenment to Tamate? Not really this session, to be honest. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but just I kind of just dueled and that was really it.
Well, did he take any
his
sort
belief
of...
is to guide you on the road to Tamate. Do you think that his prayer was influential moment in your character's life? Because that's really what it would be about, or even the effects of the duel because of the prayer.
Honestly, I think it's overshadowed by the fact that the dude threw himself on the sword. Like, I don't. Yeah, unfortunately, because of that scene, not really. Because I think that it's.
I was gonna say no hard feelings. Brennan's still got 5 fate over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I did like the way with that scene though, what you did there with sort of the truth coming out through the sword. So the prayer kind of came true. That was really cool.
Yeah, I had different plans for him, but I rolled a die of fate to see if your prayer would sway him. And regardless of the results of the duel, he had decided to throw himself on the blade when he heard the prayer. As his confession to God. So that was cool that you guys picked up on that. So I will convince the court that war in the Holy Land is an affront to God. I don't know that they're convinced. You definitely got the Baron convinced. Like, the Baron is like, we've done some appalling things. I'm here to seek forgiveness.
Baby
Please,
steps.
church, don't throw me into hell. Like, the Baron is completely scared for his eternal soul.
As he should be.
But I don't think you quite got Aldhedge on board.
So do I get credit for finishing it or working towards it? Okay.
Actually, you know what? I think we can count this as complete, so you could take Persona if you're interested in that. If you want, you can keep working on it and say, I just want fate, and I want to convince Aldhedge as well. Or you can take Persona and say, well, I did convince some of the court, and that was part of the idea.
Okay. I'll give some thought to that. I'm going to see like what the.
I was going to say the good part about taking Persona is if you have a Persona and you die miraculously, you can spend a Persona to save your life. Also, Persona gives you an extra die when you make rolls,
and I can replace it with a new goal. Okay, so I'll probably do that. I'll take some time to think of a new goal.
Okay,
so just sort of like the next step of that path of progression.
Yeah, what you could do is like alter it and say, I will convince Aldhedge of the importance of confessing their crimes, or something like that. That's still related and is accomplishable. Let's see here. So Mason is eager, but he needs to learn to pause to understand others before passing judgment. I don't think that one came up this time. The road to...
He conducted himself greatly in that scene where he burst in. Like, he didn't go ballistic.
He did, but I don't think it was because of your actions. That's why I say I don't think it came up. Let's see here. The road to God is humble and laborious.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Yes,
but I don't think he did it. I think through story, we had a view back at Mason's backstory and Mason telling him how the abbot made him understand that labor and all that stuff was very important. And like, I feel like that kind of mini speech that Mason gave was like an homage to the abbot's teachings and how important it is.
So I think that's fair. The other thing I was going to say is I gave you an opportunity to make your gift more grand because of the stature of the guest that you were receiving. And I was pretty much going to be like, Brennan, name what you give him. I don't care. And you didn't take the opportunity to like up your station. You stayed humble. So I think that fate is probably appropriate for that.
Cool. I was trying to express that with like the serving them myself and all that, and trying to treat everyone equally.
Cool. So instincts, let's see if any of these got in your way. Always lends a hand. No, not so much. Has a piece of scripture for every situation. I think it helped you. It didn't hurt you this time. When met with a new group of people, engage with the common folk to learn. Also didn't come up.
Yeah, the sorcerer isn't exactly common folk.
Your traits haven't come up, but I know that reeks of alcohol will come up eventually. Because someone's going to say some shit about that. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that's about it for the clericus. Let's go to Marshall. Marshall.
There's pretty much nothing.
Well, arguably, the steel has been acquired. If the steel is given to the mason to do what he wants with it, that could grant you a fate point.
I mean, you said it was delivered to my my workshop.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean,
and the reason why I left was I was just trying to go catalog it.
Okay, cool.
And add it to my wares. Nobody without anybody telling me. I'm just doing it.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we'll come back to it, because I think once you decide once you guys as a group decide what you want to do with all this like lump sum of steel that's been given to you, it may affect your beliefs. Because it could go towards your workshop, it could go towards like building the mech.
I get it.
You did build a proper symbol that represents the soul. Parentheses, apparently a flower, question mark.
Because he's like, this is what a soul is, because trying to understand it.
So you accomplished that last time. You've got this belief on here. I think it should have been like to give it back to Tom was the intent. Was that where you were going with it?
I think so. I wrote that after.
Yeah, I was going to say you wrote it after. I remember that. So yeah. I will say that that's a persona. What we need to do is just kind of check our wording on our stuff, but I'm going to give you benefit of the doubt on this one, because I think the intent was to make sure that Tom received it back.
Yeah, it was essentially to represent the soul, but
so that is a persona. All right. And then that one can be changed because it's complete, and to understand the type of art that Francis makes. I don't know that you worked towards it.
I did not this time. I know.
I was going to say, I don't think the gift exchange was enough to make you be like, aha, I understand art.
I'm not trying to understand the art. I'm trying to understand his art specifically, because he seems to be all up about it, and he seems to be important to him. So I want to just see why it's so important to him.
I think your current instincts are only going to get you in trouble once I cut the reins off of this current adventure and we become a sandbox. Just because there's no other smiths to deal with right now. So you do have a third instinct. You may want to consider like putting in something that's a little bit more universal in the future.
Oh, I was going to.
Okay, cool. Let's take a look at Mason real quick here. We'll keep the Abbey safe during the trial. I think so. Maybe indirectly, but I think you work towards it because you assigned Kiva and you're giving her responsibilities, which I think is still part of like facilitating your knighthood.
Okay.
So I think that's right. Form a militant order. Okay. You have not been ordained by the church yet as a militant order. You are a knight order, however, so that's cool. Will prove faith to the faith that I am from the jungle. I don't think that came up at all today.
Nope.
I will make the abbot understand the need for the knight order. I don't remember the exact phrase, but there was something during the prayer where the abbot basically said that that war is a needed thing, but it is not always needed. So I'm inclined to say that that is a fate item right there, because the abbot has admitted that verbally in front of others that there is a purpose for soldiers.
Hold on. Complete is what you mean to say. He has acknowledged that there is a reason that I exist now.
Yeah, I could buy that. Okay, cool. So you will need to create another special belief involving your order. And then I will give you a persona.
I will get Kiva knighted.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like that.
That's belief special is the one to change. Let's see here. So instincts, check people for weapons and assume them for threat. Or assess them for threat. I don't think there was an opportunity for this, just because you came in late.
Yeah.
But you didn't like immediately stop the dinner and check people. Like if you did that, that would definitely be your instinct working against you. And nobody tried to assassinate anybody, so that also didn't work against you.
Weapons, armor, and horse. I don't think it worked. It came up, but it didn't work against me.
No, I don't think so.
And then the gift that keeps on giving, instinct number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that one did work against you. Because the Aldhedge people are going to take that back to Aldhedge with them and talk about this arrogant, crazy knight in the Holy Land.
I mean, yeah.
Let's see here. Next is Francis.
Where's Francis?
I will put the Abbey on the map. You definitely worked towards that one today.
Yep.
Did some quid pro quo.
Yeah. For some context, I'm doing this genuinely out of appreciation for the abbot and how he took me in, and I want to do him a solid.
Uh-huh.
But I also know he wouldn't approve of it. But he doesn't have to know that.
I like Brendan's response of their shame.
The bell tower was fitting.
The common man should not be looked down on. I don't think it came up because we did a lot of dealing with nobles during this scene.
Right.
The few common people that were there are like our background filler characters this time.
Whoa! I take offense to that. I consider myself common.
No, you're a background filler character.
Okay, I can accept that one as well.
I will regain my place among the die makers and find allies among them. You work towards it.
I mean, that is like the second goal bringing up with the lady, but like I wanted to focus on the Abbey first. So I may eventually go down that route with her, but like...
I'm just telling you what she's going to do. You work towards it.
Okay, cool.
Let's see here. Let's look at your instincts, see if any of those got in your way. Always note the light of the room. Never be without your art supplies. If you see something new, spectacular, capture in art. I don't think it got in your way. I really used it as like a device for the cliffhanger, and that's about it.
Okay.
That got in the way of the cliffhanger. No.
So that was our episode tonight. That was really good today. I liked how it went. I was glad that we were able to break out the fight rules. Kind of glad that it was a 1-round fight. That way we could just dip our feet a little bit. Just so you guys are aware, there's 2 other rule sets. There's one called Duel of Wits, which is for aggressive conversations about really important stuff.
So aggressive negotiations.
Yep. Basically, if you were to have a conversation with someone that like a diplomacy check isn't quite good enough to cover, that's where Duel of Wits comes in. And it works just like fight does. You say that you want to make a point or you want to rebuttal. And it's the same basic mechanics of pulling cards at 3 at a time.
So
read up on that. It's going to be coming up eventually.
So it's like the negotiations in Fifth Element.
Yes.
You walk in, shoot the guy in the head, and go negotiations over.
Yep. That's very close. That is one way to handle them.
That's the only way to handle them.
But the cool thing about Duel of Wits is basically you guys have hit points just like you would for your characters' lives. The goal is to not lose your hit points and deplete your enemy of their hit points, just like it is in combat. The more hit points you lose, the more negotiating you have to do at the end. So if you use a little bit, you have a minor compromise. If you lose a lot, or if you lose like a mid amount, it's a regular compromise. If you lose a lot, it's a major compromise.
What if you lose none and you just crush your opponent?
Then they compromise everything and do exactly as you asked.
So it's a total surrender.
Yep, total surrender. which is actually pretty cool.
I have a feeling that's going to be to get the Duke to disrobe.
Yeah, the Duke disrobing, that's gonna be definitely a duel of wits, because he does not want to do that. That will implicate him.
What if I just tell him I'm gonna kill his ass and then?
I mean, if you cut his shirt off, that would also solve that problem. All right, guys. For everybody that tuned in, all one viewer, thanks. You're awesome.
To everybody else, you suck for not watching this live.
I was going to say, I will get to the comment section if you commented. Thank you. I try not to look at it while I'm running, because I will get distracted and try and talk to you, because I like the fans. Throw yourself in the comments if you do like the show. If you guys liked this game, it's Burning Wheel. It's this bad boy right here.
And we all have the book, right, Brendan?
I own it.
Brendan actually does own it.
I know he does.
I'm the one who doesn't own it. I fucking fully admit that. Also, Black Guns of Icarus Online.
Ah, I thought we were going to make it.
Nope.
One session, we'll do it.
I feel like that's Tom's dream. Like, Tom, as a character, has his list of goals, and one of those, or his beliefs, and one of them is, I will make it through a game without Guns of Icarus being brought up. I'm
telling you, Chris, if he puts it on it, I will fight tooth and nail for him to get shit for that. If that happens.
All right. So for everybody who does see this afterward, thanks for tuning in, and
watch it live next time.